I used to fail at every art goal I made and everything I pursued. And then I started to think maybe I'm just not lucky, or maybe I just don't deserve it. And as you watch me draw this today, I want to let you in on what I finally learned one day that ever since has helped me meet or exceed every single art goal that I make for myself so that you can do it too. And by doing this, it will radically transform your art and your life. So whenever you actually start out on anything, right? What's the first step that you're going to take? And naturally, you're going to start to do some research. And then you're going to go look at what you should do. And then you're going to consider what would be the best version of it, what would be the fastest route, what's going to be the most successful practice, right? And the thing that I used to do is I used to inundate myself. And I just want to offer you this because I kind of learned this one the hard way. But if you want to really research your way to success, then I think that you should go ahead and write a book instead of make artwork. Otherwise, this is what I learned that I need to do in order to actually be a successful artist, which is that we need to prioritize taking action. Oftentimes, we get lulled into this perception that we don't know enough, or we're not ready for it, or we're not prepared to actually start that Etsy shop or start that comic or put yourself out there for freelance work. When in reality, you gotta admit that really what you're doing there, and I kind of learned this about myself too, is I used to just use that as an excuse for procrastination. And so what we really need to prioritize is taking action, because doing the thing will get you closer to the actual thing. All right, so for me, it was when I used to go ahead and I used to make excuses for why I didn't think clients would want to buy my work, or why I thought the art market was too oversaturated, and I would try and look at all these things. And then when I finally just released myself from that expectation and accepted that I just need to start doing it, that's what started me off on a path. And I'm gonna say this is the number one thing that most artists have trouble doing. And then here's another thing too, is that inevitably as an artist, you're a super ambitious person, aren't you? So you have more than one goal, don't you? And the issue with that though, is that they tend to conflict with each other. And a struggle for me was that I used to have the artwork I would have to make for my day job, and then I would also have to do it for clients. And then I had my own original characters and my own original things that I wanted to do. And so this might be your issue too, is that you kind of feel like all of your goals are warring with each other. Is this you? So the most important thing I realized is that what you must do, especially as an ambitious artist like yourself and I, we have to prioritize them. We have to sequence them in a hierarchy. In other words, you have to be able to say to yourself, this is the most important thing. This is the next important thing. And then this one down here, this is still important, but it's not as important as the other two. So let's say, for example, here that you want to improve your portfolio, you want to apply for Riot Games, and you also want to make a webcomic, okay? Those are three really awesome, ambitious goals. The problem though, is that they are going to conflict with each other, and seemingly there's going to be some overlap. So what I would do is I would say, no matter what, every single month, I'm going to make a bomb portfolio piece. That is number one. The portfolio pieces will lead me into goal number two, which is I want to apply for Riot Games. And then when I have that extra time, and maybe some of the stuff that I do here can contribute to me being able to put out my webcomic pages. So by doing this, friend, you will not feel overwhelmed. You will not feel defeated, because you are actually creating a hierarchical system that you are able to actually perform and succeed with. Have you ever considered doing this? Because man, it will give you so much clarity, and it took me a long time to figure that one out. Now you're gonna hit a big issue, and I used to, even while I was achieving it, right? I still wouldn't feel good, because let's be honest, right? If you've got a big, awesome goal, and let's say that you want to work for Magic the Gathering, or let's say that you just want to get some freelance clients once in a while, right? And that's not you right now, and you're not achieving that, and you're not feeling the satisfaction of that right now. And I used to feel like total crap, because it would seem like I have this big, awesome goal, and maybe I'm doing some work for it, but I don't have it yet. So then therefore, that just reinforced my failure perceivably as an artist. And then what I started to learn about was this. The reason why we tend to put off feeling happy is because we're waiting until the end, and we're waiting until the thing is done. So for example, do you ever create artwork and you don't really feel anything about it whatsoever until it's done? Or you don't feel anything about it unless it has a good social media reception? This is what I'm talking about. So what I want to let you know is that that's really going to make you feel defeated and help you assist in failing. So I'm going to offer you this instead. go ahead and create milestones for yourself. And I want you to really think about that in terms of how you can use these in order to propel yourself moving forward and how you can actually visibly see success on there, okay? Let's say, for example, you want to start an Etsy shop. Well, listen, if you actually, create the account, boom, that's a milestone. If you actually upload your first thing, boom, that's a milestone. If you have your first 10 products up there, boom, that's your milestone. So if you do it like that, that's a much better way to look at it. I can also look at it like this. Like if you ever want to start an art YouTube channel like I did 4 years ago, then I kind of look at it like, okay, well, everybody wants to hit that first goal of 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So yes, you can just suffer and be miserable and, just hate the system and then probably just dump out after your first 10 videos like most people do. Or I used to look at it as, okay, here's my first 100. Here's my first 200, here's my first 500, and then so on and so forth. And that way you have a much more sustainable route to getting there. And if you actually consider what the milestones are, you will actually hit yourself with a little bit more satisfaction, and it will propel you more forward than hold you back because you're waiting to feel successful when honestly, that's what's gonna cause you to fail. Have you ever struggled with this? Now, even though I just expressed to you why it's so important to have those milestones, I want to let you know that there's also a little bit of a problem with that. If you're then only delaying your happiness until you actually hit said milestone, well, that also kind of sucks, doesn't it? And it kind of feels like, well, I'm not getting there or I'm not doing the thing. Then this compounds on top of what you already feel like. Or if you're in some desperate situation where you're just like, man, I got to make this work. I don't have any other prospects. I don't have a job. I need to make this art thing work. That's what's also going to hurt you bad. So what I discovered is that what you need to do is you need to take down those goals and you need to chunk them out. So let's just say, for example, here that you have a comic that you want to make, right? One of the worst goals that you could possibly have for yourself in this regard is to be like, well, I want to create the first volume and it's going to be 28 pages long. Okay, well, listen, if you wait until the end, then literally all you have to do is suffer through all the work, and that inevitably sucks. Or you can do it like this. As I learned, you need to chunk down those milestones, okay? So in other words, piecemeal it together into smaller fragments. So just like this, you could be like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna sketch it out. Then I'm gonna line it. Then I'm gonna color it. Then I'm done with page 1. And if you repeat this process, you actually have manageable, achievable mini milestones along the way. By chunking down all of your goals, you're gonna be able to hit it and feel good and keep your motivation up high so that you actually have good spirits throughout the entirety of this process. And the reason why I feel that most artists are absolutely miserable and that they quit isn't because they're quitters, isn't because they're lazy, isn't because they don't deserve it, but it's just because that they set these big lofty goals and have absolutely no freaking idea that it's just too much. And one of the things I learned here too, by the way, is that your brain doesn't like these big, massive, scary, ambiguous dreams. Like if your dream was like, I want to go work for Blizzard Entertainment. Okay, wow, that's a really big thing, isn't it now? So you can't just approach it like that. You got to look at what are the mini steps I have to do? What are the individual pieces I need in my portfolio? What are the steps I need to do in order to start making a YouTube video or to start making a successful channel? And if you do it like this, then I found that it's definitely a more sustainable way because you can literally look at where you have been and where you've gone, like I'll talk to you about later in this video, and why that's so important for you. Now, the next thing that's really going to help you achieve your art goals and all the dreams you want to accomplish is go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, because y'all, no matter what anyone says in your life, I'm really here to help you achieve everything that you want to and keep you on the track to success, because I believe in you. And hey, if this video is helping you, please share it with somebody that you know so that we can spread the good word. And then the next step you're going to want to do is this. Now, one of my favorite activities that sadly I don't get to do enough anymore, but I bet that you're probably heavily involved in, is playing video games. And on that note, I used to play a lot of JRPGs, and what do they all have? When the character levels up, when they're getting stronger, is they have some type of skill tree. And one of the things I learned is that if you start to figure out exactly what you need to do for your own artistic skill tree, that will massively propel you to the future. Because tell me this, have you ever said to yourself, like, I need to make this artwork the best. I need to make this artwork the most impressive artwork I've ever made. Or I need to do a killer job with this. But let me just warn you, friend, that's exactly why you probably don't feel good about it in the end. Because if you have this expectation of like, it's gotta be amazing and everything I did prior to this wasn't that amazing, it was just good, but this one's gotta be amazing, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And no, I'm not gonna talk to you about like relaxing your expectations or anything like that. But instead what we need to do is we need to define what those expectations are, because then that will actually objectively lead you to being more satisfied. So here's what I kind of considered, and I've kind of built this as my own personal system while I've been freelancing for the last 10 years. So when I started to take a look at, for example, like when I used to start out and only make $35 a commission, and now I can make upwards of $1,500, is I would start to take a look at what's the next tier artwork. So like if it was $35, like what do I have to do to make $100? And I would start to list out exactly what those qualities are. Like, was it color? Was it composition? Was it posing? Was it lighting? And then I would start to take a look at, okay, what does a $200 artwork look like? What does a $500 artwork? And then what does a $1,000 artwork look like? And one of the things that I would urge you to reconsider is, instead of you approaching every single artwork like, oh my God, this has to be the best, that's overwhelming, my friend. That's unspecific too. And again, your brain can't handle ambiguous goals. So you have to be specific with it. So I used to do this instead. I would approach every artwork that I make and say something effective like, in this artwork, I want to really push a dynamic perspective. In this artwork, I want to try out a new light source. In this artwork, I want to try out a new dynamic pose. In this artwork, I want to try a different type of character that I haven't done before. And most of you can easily take a look at like your hero's artwork and be like, man, their artwork is amazing. And then you look at your artwork and you're like, my artwork sucks compared to them, right? And you have to stop speaking to yourself and comparing your artwork as like them good, me bad. Because in doing that, all you're doing is reinforcing your current state. And instead, my friend, be really specific, develop the skill tree of different skills that you need to improve upon, you need to work at, you need to grind and level up, and you need to acquire. And on that note too, I just want to say that y'all stop focusing on practicing so much. Y'all need to get out of this mindset that you need to endlessly toil and endlessly practice over things, because really what you're doing is you're just procrastinating. And I used to do that too, by the way. And I used to be like, man, I'm not very good at hands. Let me go sketch 100 hands. Or, hey, I don't know how to do faces. Let me just go sketch out 25 faces like this girl that I want to draw right here. It's a waste of time, y'all. Just imbue all those goals into your projects. You'll feel good, it'll feel meaningful, and it will actually be something that you can show off. How's that sound? What skills do you think you need to accomplish in order to achieve your dreams? Now, on your road to success, friend, and I know you're gonna get there, it's gonna take some time, but I know you will achieve it. But here's a big roadblock, is that you are going to inevitably have to go through some suck. And I'm just gonna be very brutal with you and honest with you. Sometimes being an artist just sucks. You have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of things you have to plan for. You have a lot of things that you actually have to accomplish, and a lot of little steps to get exactly where you want to go, because let's face it, you're not there right now, or you're building yourself there right now, aren't you? And then what that leads into is the fact that it's going to feel like a really long, arduous road where there's absolutely no reward and it's just all risk, right? If you're feeling this right now. So one of the things that I learned that you need to start to do is you need to find small ways to reward yourself. Because if you are not getting any type of a like dopamine hit throughout your process, it's very miserable. It's a total drag. And those of you that find that, as soon as you get to maybe the middle of your artwork and you dump out, this is a really big reason why. So one of the things I started to do was I started to develop a reward system for myself every single time that I would make any minor progress. And you need to do this for both major and minor things, okay? So like, for example, every single time that I work on an artwork, I literally make it a point that like after that artwork, I immediately reward myself. And you can kind of think of this very simplistically as, obviously like food is a really easy one. If you just give yourself like a little snack, like just for example here, if you didn't know this, if you were to go ahead and work out and you have a single small piece of chocolate right afterwards, that starts to train and condition your brain into associating reward with a hard task. And similarly, you can start to do it with your artwork. So what could it be for you? Can you get like a bag of your favorite candy and you can have like one small piece, like maybe a Hershey Kiss or like a little like fun size Kit Kat every single time that you finish. Or if you're not on that route, and yeah, definitely you got to mind your health on this one too. Like, can you go ahead? Like for me, I love a good Diet Coke after I'm done. I'll just go ahead and pop one of those and chug that as soon as I'm done with my session, because then that way, again, I'm sort of conditioning myself to liking the process. I also, by the way, continue to do this when I work with clients. So like when I get a new freelance client, one of the things that I'll always do is I've always gotten this as a good practice. And for those of you that freelance, I urge you to start to do this, something like this too, is that every single time like I get that PayPal notification, you know, that they actually paid me for it, is I'll just literally like put my hand on my heart, and it sounds happy, but I'll just be like, thank you. Thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate you. And I think that that's so necessary, because oftentimes we're just in such a rush and such a hustle just to make a buck or to keep ourselves afloat, that we don't actually sit there and appreciate that process and appreciate the fact that somewhere in the world, some stranger that doesn't even know you is just gonna wire you money. Like, do you ever think about that? That's really weird, isn't it? Or also, here's a fun thing that I do, is for my private one-on-one art mentorship program, I have this globe. And I've been able to work with people in over 25 countries. And I started to kind of pick up on that, and I wanted like a visual representation of it. So every single time I get one of my mentees from a new country I've never worked with, I'll go ahead and I'll take a marker and I color that country red. And it's really fun for me because I can like spin it around and I can see like everybody that I've worked with. And it's so cool, and it's very motivating, and it keeps me motivated to want to continue to do the things that I do and to level up my practices so that I can work with more people. Because one of my big art goals I'll share with you is I want to be able to work with one person from every single country around the globe, and I want to impact 10 billion artists by the time that I die. And I know it's a big lofty goal, but y'all here on YouTube are definitely helping me with that. But no matter what you want to do, friend, make sure that you have some type of easy reward system so that you're going to train your brain to actually enjoy the process, and then potentially even get addicted to this process of making artwork in a healthy way, so that you don't just get addicted to quitting and failing every single time things get hard. Is that you? Now, with our ambitions as an artist, you definitely have them in your mind. You maybe think about them all the time. I bet that you think about them in the shower, when you're on the toilet, when you've got spare time, and you're thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about it. It's always like kind of top of brain, right? And that used to be me too. And then I kind of realized that that's really inefficient. That's not really what's going to bring you to the level of success and the level of satisfaction that you want to deserve, friend. And basically, here's why, is because it escapes you. You have a lot of room, in which case it's necessary for you to not think about that, to prioritize doing other things, or you have to deal with other emergencies that come up in your life, okay? And it's really easy to forget about things that aren't immediately in our field of vision. Like, just for example, like if you've ever lost a pet and you have like an urn with their ashes, after the first like kind of couple months, it's really easy to forget that it's even there. It just becomes like something that you absolutely forget about, especially if you put it in a place where like nobody sees it. So one of the things that I learned I had to start to do with my goals, and I'm going to very much urge you to start to do this immediately, is you have to put them within your field of vision. If you can't see them, friend, you will forget about them. If you are not reviewing them on a very consistent basis, then it's going to be something that honestly is going to slip your mind, and then you are going to fall into despair. You're going to fall into negative mindsets and frames that aren't going to serve you going forward. And one of the things that I continue to do is I have my goals physically posted somewhere in a space that I frequent all the time. So where could this be for you, friend? Could it be in your bedroom? Could it be on the back of your door? Could it be in your bathroom? And one of the things that will drastically help you achieve your goal, focus you in, help you never lose motivation is really simply this. You have to review your goals every single day. So like put it in a place, hypothetically, where you are actually going to not be able to escape it, and where you can do it when there's meaningless tasks happening. Like just for example here, can you go ahead and put it in your bathroom, right on your mirror, and then while you're brushing your teeth and you're shaving or whatever every single morning, you're doing your makeup, you can sit there and review your goals. You can actually set yourself up every single day for doing some task, however major or minor that's going to be, in order to hit that goal. Now, while I'm doing this, the first thing I bet you're probably gonna think of is, okay, cool, well, I'll put it in my phone. No, don't put it on your phone. That's a terrible idea. I'm gonna tell you why. Because inevitably what's gonna happen, if you put it on your phone or on your computer, you are not going to look at it, okay? You're gonna look at your notifications, you're gonna go ahead and look at Instagram, you're gonna watch TikTok instead, you're gonna blaze right past that, and it will just fall into the recesses of the hard drive of either your phone or your computer. This has to be physically out, this has to be physically there. One of the things that some of my mentees enjoy doing with this, and I wholeheartedly support this, is I've urged them to start to keep a whiteboard of all of their individual goals. And week to week, I'll have them kind of update it and check off exactly what they've done. And then by doing that, man, you feel so good. You can actually see the progress right there. And if you take down all your big milestones and then you chunk them all down into individual checkpoints up on there, and then you actually, like check it off, you start to feel really good. You feel like, even though at the end of a week, you're like, man, I sunk like 10 hours into this artwork, I don't see any difference. But then if you objectively look at that list and be like, oh my God, I did make progress. I was wrong. Wow, this does make me feel good. And I've found this to be a really revolutionary practice for so many artists, and I bet it could be for you. What if you started to do that? Now, can we talk about what I think is probably one of the most overstated things, but also one of the most sorely misunderstood statements you'll ever hear? Have you ever been told that you need to appreciate the journey? Have you ever been told that you need to see this as an experience for you? Well, look, all of that, totally true, but I feel like it's such a weird, lofty thing to say that honestly, it kind of falls flat. Doesn't it feel really hollow when people say this? And I think the reason why that doesn't hit with certain people and it does with others is just because of the fact that it's not well defined. And can I reframe that for you? So what if you started to take a look at it like this instead? It's not about just like appreciating the journey. It's about realizing what you have to do and who you have to become, what you have to develop along the way, and being okay with the time it takes. Because I know how y'all feel about this. You probably feel like, man, I gotta get this done right now. I have to make this succeed this year. I have to do this. And you're putting so much insane pressure on yourself that as soon as you hit a fragment of what appears to be perceivably a failure, then you shut down, then you quit, then you go back to your bad habits, then you start making artwork and you start playing video games all the time, and you start indulging yourself in Netflix and media addictions instead. So instead, here's how we wanna get ourselves out of this rut here, y'all. A lot of you will say to something to the effect of like, well, Sean, it's gonna take me so much time. Yeah, it's gonna take me a year. Do you know how long it's gonna take me? Yeah, I do. Can I be honest with you? It's gonna take you the same amount of time as if you don't. It's gonna take you the same amount of time as if you were to actually sit down and you were to actually labor towards all of those tasks. It would take you the same amount of time as if you were actually making progress towards the things that you want to achieve, friend. And listen, time is going to go by and it doesn't care about you. I'm just gonna be very honest about that. It really doesn't care. The world doesn't care. People around you, they don't care either. The only person that needs to care about your ambitions is you, friend. Here's what I wanna relax you with. I want you to be okay with time passing. I want you to be okay with the fact that it might take you a little bit longer to achieve what you want. And I'm just gonna tell you why. I'm happy that I've failed as an artist, and I've failed multiple times, and I've achieved what I currently have in a very slow way. It's taken me 10 years to build my current freelance practices. It's taken me 14 years to build my art education practices. It's taken me 4 years to build this art YouTube channel you're watching me on right now. And it's taken me 2 years to build my Art Mentorship program to be as awesome and robust as it currently is. And the reason why I'm happy about that is because at no point have I felt any sense of burnout. At no point have I felt like I'm unable to do this anymore. At no point ever have I felt that this is something that I wanted to give up. I let things happen, and I just want to encourage you to reconsider this. Stop feeling bad about what you don't achieve in a year and start looking for what can I achieve in 10 years. Once you manage your expectations as far as what time is going to be like, you allow yourself the trajectory to open up so that you can actually get there, okay? And what a lot of artists will do is that they'll be like, oh, I didn't get any clients in 2 months. I suck. This is not working for me. The art market is oversaturated. That's not the case. And that's probably why you quit. And that's definitely why you're not gonna succeed. So instead, I'm gonna urge you to reconsider this. You can definitely try whatever you wanna do for the next 1 year, maybe 2 years, and then quit and give up and live miserably for 4 years. But let me just ask you this. Do you really want to base the next 2 years on the next 40 years of your life? Or do you want to make a 40-year decision and labor towards that? Because one thing that's inevitably true in life is that whatever you labor for, you will eventually get there if you do not give up. You ever consider that? Now, a lot of you are probably doing what I'm about to suggest to you completely wrong, and you're doing it in a way that's not serving you, it's demotivating you, and it's definitely stealing a lot of your motivation. So inevitably, you probably compare yourself a lot, right? You probably look at other artists online, and you look at your heroes, and you look at other people in your sphere, maybe your friend group too, if you're like on a bunch of art Discord servers or some great art platforms like that, then you're probably looking at that, and you're looking at your own work and going, oh, I don't look like that. My artwork isn't good like that. Oh my God, this sucks. What am I doing wrong? And then let's compound that. Then I would bet that you probably follow a crap load of artists on social media, don't you? And just like me, like I used to follow like thousands of artists. Then you will compare yourself against artists online, and they will be all different things. And this person will be doing anime, and this person's doing 3D sculpting, and this person's doing hyperrealism, and this person's in fantasy, and this person's in cyberpunk, right? And then you're looking at that, and you're looking at your artwork, which isn't any of those things, and then you're like, man, I just don't feel good about this. This doesn't look right. I'm not at that level that they are at. Or they've been going at this for so long, how do I ever have a chance to succeed? Or how about this? Have you ever been like, man, that person, the artist is so much younger than me. How are they able to do that? I hate them. And if you've had those thoughts, that's natural. But here's why that is because you're not comparing yourself well. And the proper way that I would ask you to instead look at it is look back at what you've been doing about every 6 to 12 months. Because one thing that I've been able to do, certainly over the last 5 years, I've heavily invested into this, and it's been able to allow me to really propel myself to where I currently am and where I want to continue to go here, because I'm not at my peak yet, I don't believe that, is you want to go ahead and objectively take a look at the two and just notice growth areas, okay? And you should inevitably, if it's something that you're doing consistently and you're actually performing the things like your milestones and chunking down those milestones, like I've been suggesting to you throughout this video, then you will definitely see progress being made. And I know that you've probably been told that you need to compare yourself only against yourself, but the thing that's not defined there is that you need to look for specifics, like what improved over that time period, okay? For a lot of you just starting out, or those of you that are just younger artists, you need to instead not take a look at like, oh, look at that, I suck, and now I still kind of suck. No, friend, just be like, okay, look, well, I got a little better at eyes. I got a little better at drawing hair. I got a little bit better at color. I got a little bit better at composition. I got a little bit better at how I render. I got a little bit better at light sourcing. I got a little bit better at posing. When you start to take a look at that, it allows you to actually sit there and feel satisfaction and feel some sense of accomplishment like you do deserve. Because y'all, art is a long journey. Art is not even a journey because listen, a journey has an end. Art doesn't have an end for you. This is not about that. It is about adopting a lifestyle. Have you ever considered that? Because that's a big major thing that I think is not emphasized enough, is that you being an artist isn't just you selecting a hobby and doing that craft up until when it is complete. Being an artist, you're never complete. You're always incomplete. You're always missing something. You're always able to improve and excel in another thing. So by you instead not looking at where you need to go, but also where you have come from, you'll see what you've been able to do. Much like if you play video games, it's almost like you revisiting the old like starter newbie town when you're now like level 25. And that's not a huge accomplishment. It's easy to do that in almost any MMORPG, right? But go ahead and do that, and that's a really easy metric for you to go ahead and propel yourself to the future success that you want and deserve. Now, I want to hit you with a big understanding that took me a while to realize, but as soon as I did, it was really deep and meaningful for me. So a lot of you are not going to allow yourself to feel any sense of accomplishment, to feel success, to feel like you've made it until you actually make it. And you're going to think that your success lies in the product, the end goal, achieving this, being recognized for that, the amount of likes, follows, subscribers that you want, whatever your metric is, the amount of customers you have or the sales that you had, all that stuff is great. But that's not the point of goals. And this is a major reason why most artists will never hit their goals, okay? And I want to just let you in on this well-kept secret that shouldn't be a secret because I'm gonna expose it right now. It's not about you hitting anything that is actually of substance to you, okay? It's not about your sales, it's not about your customers, it's not about your income, it's not about your success or your fame, popularity, whatever it is. It is about this. It's about building trust in yourself, okay? And one of the things that we don't consider enough is how every action that you take is either building trust or destroying trust in yourself. Let me just take this as a very minor goal here. So for example, do you hit your snooze button every single day? Like, are you somebody that has to slap that thing every single 5 minutes? Maybe you make a whole bunch of alarms and you just keep whacking it until it just finally feels like it's a good time for you to get up? That's an easy example of how you're destroying trust in yourself, because you're literally proving to yourself right there, I can't do it. There's no way I can't wake up in a structured time. And if we look at this in an artistic perspective, okay, if you say to yourself, I am going to, by the end of this month, complete one artwork, and you don't do it, you destroy trust in yourself. You don't believe that you can do it. You're not infusing yourself with any level of belief that you're actually able to do the things that you want and set yourself out to. Now, here's where that becomes really toxic, is because now you have a large amount of excuses as this compounds over time into why you can't do things. You're gonna be like, well, look, I can't go ahead and go and work for Blizzard Entertainment because I'm just not worth it. I'm not talented enough. I'm not able to do that. I wasn't born in the right place. I didn't have the right teachers. I'm not rich. I can't afford that education or that mentorship program. Those become your excuses because you don't trust yourself to do it. And I see this all the time at a macro and a micro decision level, because you're gonna say well, look, I can't possibly make 5 to 10 hours a week for making artwork, okay? But then what do you do with that time anyways? Real talk. You convince yourself that it's not worth it for you to invest into your artwork, but it is for you to invest into something else that is going to give you some remedial sense of satisfaction. However, it's not going to last for you. You know what I'm talking about, okay? If you consider your vices and where your time's going, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. And I just want to urge you to consider, are those activities actually going to bring you any level of fulfillment? In 40 years, are you going to be happy and be like, man, I'm so happy that I sunk 200 hours into World of Warcraft. Wow, that was so great, meaningful for me. Wow, I am so happy that I binged an entire Netflix series, but then complained that I couldn't get a single artwork done. Really think about that time investment and what that's going to do for you. Because the secret here in you sustaining yourself as an artist is in you building confidence. And people think that confidence is something that's like this obscure concept that you either have or you don't, and no, it's not. It's you laying the bricks, brick by brick, filling it with the mortar of trust, so that you performing little tasks and actually committing to those little tasks, actually making sure that you do those little tasks and accomplishing those little milestones and those mini chunk milestones. That is how you are going to eventually erect the tower of your artistic success. That's a secret that nobody talks about, but that's one of the things I want to urge you to consider. Do you think you can start to do this now? Does that make sense? Because this is going to radically transform the reason and the why you do everything moving forward. Now on this note, one of the things that I can't overlook is the fact that your goals themselves actually might be the problem. Like, have you ever considered that the way that you structure your goals is actually making sure that you set yourself up for failure and not success? Because I've been seeing this for years. And that's exactly why I made this entire video right here, so that you know how to smash every single art goal that you make. So go ahead, check it out. And if this helped you, share it with somebody that you know. See you next time.